And we have returned for another installment of Character Showcase. I decided to do this now rather than later because this one needed done sooner. As Frostbite here has already appeared in my content and his art fight profile was in desperate need of an update. Only thing different about this episode is that there is a lot to talk about in regards to Frost, so yay! I will note there are some triggering topics in his story, such as abuse, self-harm, and suicide mentioned. I won't go into heavy detail, and I will attempt to talk around this as best as possible, but there's a trigger warning for you all just in case. Alright, with all that cleared up, let's begin. Alright, let's look at the oldest photo of Frostbite. Honestly, not bad. Then again, Frostbite was created in 2022 and not 2015, so that isn't saying a lot. But here's a fun fact, Frostbite was created on Pit Crew. I was trying to get a general design for him in my head, and luckily there was a character creator for Transformers on Pit Crew. Once I find it again, I'll be sure to put it in the description if you want to try it out. Here's about what it looked like. I don't know if I ever transferred it to my phone onto my laptop. So here is my recreation of it. Now here are the two reference sheets we're going off. There is quite a variation in the two designs, much more than with Nikita. The oldest ref sheet is the one to the left of the screen, made in October of 2022, and the second to the right was made in June of 2023. There are some similarities, most notably the general shape of his chassis, aka his chest, his shoulders, wings, horns, and his leg struts, or just his legs. In his oldest reference sheet, he doesn't have the pink spike on the top of his head, and it started as a dip down his face. His peds, his feet for anyone who doesn't really speak robot lingo, are also a different shape too, changing to their high-heeled look in the transition over to his 2023 design. His color also had a massive shift to lighter, brighter colors, to which in this most recent iteration has dulled ever so slightly. Something I'd like to point out here is his scars. Previously, Frostbite had one prominent scar across his left chin, which was to acknowledge a similar scar I have on my own face. However, that actually has changed since. In the newest design and in the stills I used for the Transformer video, he has 3 prominent scars across his face, 2 across the center, 1 over his eye. This is actually an interpretation of my IRL piercings. If you've seen my Black Butler video, the character there has a bridge, a septum, and an eyebrow piercing, which are all piercings I have at this moment. I wasn't sure how to best put these on a robot, so I decided to make them scars, allowing the presence of a scar to remain on him while changing the meaning of it to something a bit more interesting and fun. Frostbite actually did have 3 claw marks along the side of his chassis on his right side, but that has since been changed to 2 in the center, which has more implications to his story. Before we go on to discuss the story, I want to give a bit of context as to how the lore works through this story. For one, the story takes place within the Transformers Prime universe. If you haven't seen that, what are you doing? Go watch it. It's actually really good and it's free on YouTube. Anyway, and secondly, when creating the story, I decided that Minicons as a subspecies, ones who didn't become joined with the normal-sized Cybertronian, were seen as lesser to the larger Cybertronian society. The reason I did this was because of a video created by Emperor Kumquat, Why Soundwave Loves Laserbeak, the forgotten character. In this video, they discuss the fact that despite Laserbeak being a very well-known and prominent character within the Transformers franchise, he is consistently just a prop on Soundwave within this show itself. And none of Soundwave's other Minicons are ever mentioned within the show itself, and while this could obviously be due to budget cuts, which was a big part of why poor Breakdown kicked the bucket, haha jokes, it still felt odd for them to not even mention him. Hell, in an informational book spread for the characters and their art direction, poor Laserbeak only has a mini section to himself, while the Terrorcons, zombie Decepticons if you don't know, have a whole spread for themselves. This is all noted in the video that I'll link in the description, as I think it really shaped my love for my favorite Transformer character, Soundwave. And also, go give them a follow and a like. I love their content. It's really good. Alright, let's finally talk about the story. Whew, be prepared for cringe. Let's do this. Frostbite was a young Minicon who lived off what he could find. He always tried to protect his fellow Minicons, especially those who didn't quite trust the much larger Cybertronians. But even he had his limits. He would try his best to get an exceptional education, hoping it would allow him to better advocate for his friends and family. At the Iacon Hall of Records, while rummaging through the available records, he ran into Orion Pax. Thankfully, Orion was a kind and understanding bot, so he allowed him to visit, looking through datapads and learning more about their world and its politics. They became fast friends, and Frostbite greatly admired the archivist. They would read together, and Orion wanted a similar fate to him, fair rights for all Cybertronian life. As time went on and their friendship grew, they heard about a gladiator named Megatronus, named after the previous prime of the same name. They heard about his preachings and speeches, and were enthralled with how he spoke with such power and valor. He asked for Megatronus to work with them to help build a better Cybertron all three dreamed of. The day they stood before the council, Frostbite was sadly unable to attend, as an emergency with one of the other Minicons became his top priority after getting into a scuffle. Once he finally got there, he found a seething Megatronus, angry and distraught. Frostbite begged to know what happened, but Megatronus decided to lie to the young Minicon. Frostbite, like myself at a young age, was very easily manipulated by those around him. Thankfully, Orion was kind and possessed no ill intent. Megatronus, on the other hand, was not. He told the Minicon that Optimus abandoned